Hey friends, welcome to your week 15 foundations class. Today we're going to be talking a lot about the core. You'll need either a rolled up towel or blanket or sweatshirt, whatever you have. And if you have a foam roller, it would come in handy. If you don't, I'm going to use a yoga mat. I can't find my foam roller and it'll give you the same kind of idea. So let's talk about the muscles of the core. Obviously, the core includes a lot more than these four muscles, but this is kind of the front, what we think of when we think of abs. All right, so you have your rectus abdominis, which is your six-pack muscle right along the front here. This is the most superficial muscle, which means it's closest to the surface. And it's a big moving type of muscle. So it's not really a stabilizer. It's more of, okay, I need to lean forward. I'm gonna use my rectus abdominis. Contrast that with your TA, your transverses abdominis. This muscle is the deepest layer of your core, and it's more of a stabilizer, an anticipatory muscle, kind of more long acting, but maybe less powerful in that type of sense. This muscle runs from your fascia lines from the front, where your linea alba is, to the back, where your thoracolumbar fascia is. So from front to back, it wraps around, and when it contracts, it pulls everything in and tightens in like a corset. This is your corset muscle. And then you have your obliques. You have your external obliques and your internal obliques. Your external obliques, you can think of running like if you put your hands in your front pockets here. So I'll skip all the details, but basically they run from your lower ribs to this fascia line. And you can think of, if my right oblique is contracting, it's shortening and it's pulling me to rotate in the opposite direction, okay? Now you have your internal obliques, which are deeper, but they run perpendicular. So whatever direction you're putting your hands in your front pockets, put your other hand perpendicular to that. So you can see if my left obliques contract, they run from lower ribs to your pelvis here. They will pull me to rotate in the same direction, okay? All right, so let's look at our rib cage and how that can be affected. If you have really, really strong external obliques and or rectus six-pack muscles, these tend to pull your rib cage more narrow. And what you can also have with this is if this is all super tight, but your lower TAs are weaker, then you could have upper ab gripping, where this, you might find like a pulling in, like a notch up here, but then you might have bulging down in your lower belly. And even it can push pressure down into your pelvic floor. The opposite is true if you have dominant internal obliques or TAs. Think about that pull. So the internal obliques tend to pull our rib cage apart. So you might have a wider rib cage, but maybe a more firm line underneath the abs. Okay, it's a lot of information. We will continue to go through this, but that is just a general overview. You want to have balanced core muscles. You want to be able to contract all of them individually and as a unit. So let's lie on our backs. I'm gonna kind of face a funky way in hopes that you can see this. So if you wanna find your rectus abdominis, basically you're gonna do a sit-up or maybe tuck your chin and lift. So this will be the muscles that lift up here. Now, what can happen if you don't contract your TAs is you can get a bread loaf appearance. So if the TAs aren't there to cinch everything down and in, then your rectus can bulge out and it kind of looks like a loaf of bread. So I'm gonna try to do that here. Although I'm so used to contracting my TAs. I don't know if you can see that. Kind of lifting up on the sides. There we go. Okay, so that's a way to find your rectus abdominis. Basically do a chin tuck and do a sit up. Now, the most common cue you will hear to contract your TAs is to pull your belly button in towards your spine. And this actually is not the most helpful cue. First of all, it only relates to your middle TAs. You actually have an upper section, a middle section, and a lower section of your TA muscles. And when you just pull in and cinch in at the belly button, again, it can kind of create more of a gripping and more pressure down on the lower area of your pelvic floor. So to find the TAs, let's first place our hands on the inside of our hip bones here. And relax, take a few breaths to arrive. If you need a little towel roll under your neck, you can place that there. The TAs work in conjunction with your pelvic floor, and it's a really good idea to contract your pelvic floor first before you contract your TAs, so that that pressure system is working from the bottom up. So gently, with your fingertips on the inside of your hip bones, just do a tiny pelvic floor contraction and a really, really gentle pulling in of your lower abs. And what you'll feel is just a tiny firming underneath your fingertips. Nothing more than that. So let's try again. Take a big breath in. Exhale, gentle contraction of your pelvic floor and your lower abs. Just firming underneath your fingertips. Okay, contrast that with, take a big breath in, and then really contract your whole midsection, all of your muscles, and you'll feel more of a thickening underneath your fingers that your abs might kind of poke out into your fingertips. This is contracting obliques, TA, and rectus. Okay, and then you can kind of do the same thing up under your ribs. Place your fingertips there. Take a big breath in. Exhale, gentle pelvic floor contraction, and feel like you can close your eyes and picture that corset cinching in gently. Good. Try a few here. I definitely find that closing my eyes or looking at my body helps. And then you can move to the middle, so it's kind of around your belly button. I like to wrap my hands in a C shape on either side of my waist. It's a really hard thing to isolate, so if you aren't getting it right off the bat, don't get frustrated. Big breath in, let your breath reach down to your pelvic floor. Exhale, smooth and gently, and then contract your pelvic floor and your middle TAs. So it's not so much of a really pulling your belly button in aggressively, it's just the muscles underneath your belly button are slightly cinching in. So all four core muscles, when you contract them in a really balanced manner and kind of all at the same time, it's called an abdominal brace. And what this means is you're stabilizing your spine and pelvis. So you're using the muscle contractions and a little bit of pressure buildup to keep the midsection really stable while the rest of you moves. And that's what we're gonna be doing next. We'll do an abdominal brace with some heel slides. So find a towel of any sort, or a t-shirt, whatever you have. And I'm gonna fold my mat up for a little more space. Come to lie on your back. If you tend to live in that anterior pelvic tilt world, don't place anything underneath your low back. This is where, you tend to dump forward with your belly and arch your back. If you tend to clench and tuck your glutes and really round the pelvis under, it might help to place a little towel roll underneath your low back. So place the towel or whatever slidey thing you have underneath your right foot. Now, the idea in this exercise is to create a balanced contraction of your whole core. And we're gonna keep the spine and the pelvis stable. So take a big breath in. Exhale to contract. At the bottom of your exhale, slide your right leg out. And pull it back in. Good, take a breath in. Exhale, contract, and at the bottom of your exhale, slide your right leg out and pull it back in. Good, let's do one more together. I know it feels easy, or it might feel super hard. It's kind of this boring stuff that it's really important. So let's go over to the left side for 3 reps. Take a big breath in, full 360-degree expansion. Exhale, contract your core as a unit, avoiding rib flare, avoiding that rectus doming, avoiding cinching in only at the belly button, and then slide left leg out and left leg in. If it's super hard for you to feel your muscles, what you can do is at the very bottom of your exhale, as long as you are avoiding the arching, the moving of your pelvis, excessive pressure down in the pelvic floor, you could hold your breath briefly, slide out and slide in, more of a Valsalva maneuver, but only if this is impossible for you to get. Otherwise, I'd rather you just do the contraction on the tail end of the out breath. Let's do 2 more. Good, big breath in, fill up, and exhale, contract. At the second half of your exhale, slide your left leg out. Good, I like to also place a couple fingertips at my hips, maybe my thumbs at my lower ribs, and that just makes sure everything is pretty much in a neutral position. We're not rocking from side to side or arching or tucking. Okay, so pause the video if you feel like you need to practice those more. We're next gonna do some hip rotation. So same big breath in, same stabilization of your spine and your pelvis. Exhale out, and then we're gonna drop our right knee out to the right side. You'll feel your core working, bring it back in. Inhale. Exhale. Contract everything. At the second half of your exhale, left knee drops out to the left side. Tendency would be for everything to go over, so this is where we're using all our muscles to keep pelvis and spine stable. We're just rotating at the hips, which is a ball in a socket, your femur in your pelvis. Good, inhale. Exhale. Right knee out to the right side, nothing else moves. Good, inhale. Exhale. Left knee out to the left side. Move through one more on each side in your own timing. Perfect. All right, finish those up. If those feel super hard, stick with those. If you feel like you're ready for a little bit more, we're gonna bring our knees up towards the sky so that our shins are parallel to the ground. And then hands are gonna come up towards the sky, fingertips up, palms facing each other. This is gonna work towards our dead bug shape. So you might wanna record yourself and just take a look at what your body is doing when you do this exercise. I'm actually gonna let my mat back out since I don't need to slide. All right, so same concept at the pelvis. Broken record. Ribs, pelvis, spine doesn't move. Take a breath in. Exhale, lower your right heel down towards the mat. Maybe you keep the knee bent, or maybe you straighten that leg. Bring it back in. Breathe in. Exhale. Core works as a unit, and then your left heel lowers towards the mat, or maybe straightens all the way. Good, bring it back in. If you want to add another layer to this, breathe in. Exhale. Lower right leg and left thumb up over your head. Good, bring it back in. Inhale. Exhale, we're gonna lower left heel and right thumb. Perfect. Let's do 2 more on each side. Now there's a bunch of different variations and modifications you can use. If you find that having both legs off the ground is really hard, then place your opposite heel and just work on straightening that one leg. Good, other side. Big inhale, big exhale, contract, stabilize, lower right heel and left thumb. Again, great place to take a video just to see, noticing for flaring of the ribs or that bread loaf or just belly button cinching. One more on the other side, inhale. Exhale, lower left heel and right thumb. Good, come back to center. That is an amazing exercise, and there's so many different ways to work yourself up to it. Start with the heel slides, maybe then lift one knee, lowering that heel, so both legs are bent, and then you can straighten one leg at a time and lower, and then you can lift both knees, and then you can add the arm. So a bunch of different ways to progress there. But one of my very favorite exercises, I do it every day. There's 3 exercises I do every day for low back health, which I've done for 6 months and has helped tremendously. That is one of them. And what we're doing next is another one. So we are going to do bird dogs. This is where if you have a foam roller, that would be great. Just for a little bit of a postural cue, you could also take a video of yourself just to see where you're aligned and stacked. But the goal is to, this isn't gonna work because this is gonna unfold, but place that foam roller so that it touches the back of your skull, the mid back, and your pelvis, okay? And then you're gonna press the ground away slightly just so you feel a little bit of filling in through the shoulder blades, but you're not super rounded and hollowed. Shoulders are stacked over palms, hips are stacked over knees. Okay, so similarly, we're gonna do an abdominal brace. So in your quadruped or tabletop position, take a breath in. Fill out through the back body and the sides of the ribs. On an exhale, we'll start pretty easy. Bring that core in, balanced, even, without over cinching. And then we're gonna shift weight into left hand, lift your right hand up. Good. Inhale, drop your right hand. Take a big breath. Exhale. Weight goes into the right hand, lift your left hand up. Okay, the goal is to keep the spine nice and stable, the pelvis nice and stable. We're not arching, we're not rounding. You might need to play with your pelvis at first just to see, okay, do I naturally arch or do I naturally round? Let's find that nice middle ground. And then the other thing is we don't want to rock our hips side to side. So you could place a foam roller next to your hips. That way, if you're tempted, like if you were to shift weight into one side to knock your hips over, it would knock the foam roller down, which isn't fun. So that is a cue to put on the outside of your hips so your pelvis doesn't shift side to side. We're done with the foam roller, but I thought those were helpful cues. Okay, so to progress from here, take a breath in. Exhale, we're gonna extend and straighten our right leg back. Keep everything else nice and stable. Good. Inhale, lower your right knee. Fill up with breath. Exhale, everything stays steady except your left leg extends back. Remember on that exhale to try to work the pelvic floor into it. So we're moving that pressure from the very bottom through the lower TAs all the way up to avoid that lower belly pooching. All right, inhale. We're gonna keep progressing. Exhale, the next step would be to lift your right leg and your left hand forward. Pretend you had a cup of water on your sacrum, your low back, and you don't want it to spill. So here we go, exhale to lift. Right leg, left arm forward. Good, inhale, lower back down. Fill up the back body and the pelvic floor with breath. Exhale. That contraction works from the pelvic floor to the lower core to the upper core. Extend left leg and right arm. Inhale, lower. Exhale. Right leg, left arm forward. Inhale to lower. Exhale, pelvis is nice and stable. Left leg back, right arm forward. One more on each side with your own breath. It's kind of hard to talk and do it at the same time. Good, inhale to lower. All right, awesome work. Two of the best exercises are your dead bugs and your bird dogs. So if you master anything, let it be this. And then my third one I do every day is some sort of side plank variation. That's for my low back, but also I think it's great for everyone. So if you master anything, master those. Take some of these progressions, regressions, watch this video again, take your time, try not to get frustrated and try not to get bored because this stuff matters. I know it's not fun or pretty, but it's super important. And yeah, just to work these stabilizing muscles. Like I said, the TA is a stabilizer as opposed to your rectus, which is a big mover. And then with the bird dogs that we just did, the back body muscles that we're working on stabilizing and endurance muscles are multifidi, and they run on each spinal segment. They're short little muscles, as opposed to our erector spinae, our paraspinals, which run the length, and those are more of our big movers. Just a little side bit, but all right. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you next time.